the people of sake actually brought me into sake.
Back in 1988, this place was actually in Ginza on the main drag.
At first it was kind of soy sauce, it was miso.
To the point where it actually changed my life.
New Year's Day 1989.
Not just sake as a beverage, but all the culture and history.
Welcome back to Sake on Air, the world's first podcast dedicated to sake, shochu, and awamori, made possible with the generous support of the Japan Sake and Shochu Makers Association. My name is Cindy Bissek, and today we have a full house of hosts here with me. We have Sebastian Lemoy.
Hello.
Chris Hughes.
Hello.
And the one and only Frank Walter.
That's me. I might be lurking a little bit, but I am here too.
Perfect. So we have lots of opinions in the room today, and I am really excited because we're talking about something that I spent a lot of time doing over the last couple of years. We're talking about sake events and festivals and which one are worth visiting. I think we decided to go through it from January to December, right? So we can give our listeners a full view of scope of what's happening from spring to December.
And there are lots of things happening. Some seasons seems to have a higher density of events though, and I think they are related to like festive mood, the festive mood of Japanese citizens, and or constraints of sake brewery, sakaguras.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. It does kind of follow the sake brewery cycle a little bit when they're available, especially if it's an event which features the breweries themselves, because sake events don't always feature the breweries. And if they are events that require the breweries to be there, then obviously it's got to align with their brewing schedule. So we're going to dive in and we're going to start with January, are we?
I think we are.
So not all of these events we're actually going to like deep dive into, right? We're just going to name some of them, point our listeners to where they can find more information. And then for some of them, we're actually going to talk in a bit more detail. And generally that's because Sebastian, myself, Cindy, and Frank haven't necessarily attended all these events, to be quite honest. So we're just going to focus on the ones that we've been to ourselves that we can offer a bit more information, a bit more insight about. So we've got one event that happens at the end of January.
So the first one is an event taking place in Nishinomiya, which is part of the greater Kobe metropolitan area. Nishinomiya is obviously fundamental for sake history and culture. It used to be called Nada, and it still is the largest sake producing region in the world. And that event features about 18 breweries as far as I can read from the website, even though I have to admit I did not participate to that event. I think it's an event that is worth going to if you're in the area and you're interested in sake, because beside the tasting, you can be sure that you will have access to great sake history museums, or which great museums about sake history, which are opened and managed by some of the large breweries down there.
Yeah, I've been to Hakutsuru's museum and Kikumasamune's museum. Those alone are worth the visit, in my opinion.
Sure, and Hakushika is as well, and Takashizo is a very interesting one as well. So I mean, lots and lots of things to see. And as you walk through the town, you can look for these odds UFOs, but there are signs of a water well, a Miyamizu water well, and so that's one of the rabbit hole themes that we may not have covered yet on Sake on Air.
Have you ever been able to find that well? Because I've asked brewers where it is, and no one could point me towards its location.
You can find the original one, and throughout the city, you can find, in fenced areas, water wells, most definitely.
Mm. And I think what's good to know here as well, I mean, the area is really massive. Like, this is not your small town sake festival. Like there's some really big breweries and you will have lots and lots of people.
All right, then moving on to the next event then, is an event which Frank and I recently checked out. And this one is rather an interesting one for sure. So it takes place in what is already quite a famous part of Tokyo, called Ryogoku. And Ryogoku is famous for, of course, sumo. So yeah, we basically, Frank and I, we did this sort of like tour of the area, and then after that we took part in this event, and the event is called Oden Kanzake Station. And the station part of the event name is a massive clue as to where this event takes place, because it actually takes place on an abandoned train platform inside Yogoku Station.
Unused, Chris.
All right, unused.
It's not like
I
abandoned.
thought abandoned sounded more mysterious and cool, but all right, unused.
Abandoned sounds a little dangerous.
Yeah, I guess so. It's an unused platform, obviously, when this event is happening. So they basically they use the entire platform for this event, and you enter from inside the station, and then there are some booths with some brewers serving sake, and then there are some tables and some tatami matted areas, some kotatsu, which are like these tables with a warmer underneath. And you get, when you actually enter the event, you get given a little tray with a packet of something called oden, which is a type of Japanese stew slash hot pot. And it's actually already kind of like warmed up for you, and then you just break open the packet and tip it into the
Dump it all in.
tray that you
Yeah.
provided. Yeah. And Frank did significantly more drinking than I did, because I had to go and work later that day,
Well,
so
I
I
mean,
couldn't drink.
It's 6 and 6 breweries, so
Yeah.
12 breweries, and it's over 4 days, and every day the breweries are different.
Yes.
So and you only have 2 hours, so it is kind of an in and out thing where you're like there, you've got your oden, you've got your little ochoko, and you're tasting the various hot sakes that are available, which is very nice. But you want to talk to the brewers, so there's not like a lot of time necessarily to take it easy, but it is very fun. You can talk to people who are there, and you can get tickets for multiple days if you remember to book in advance. It has gotten quite popular, so you may have to consider yourself lucky for getting one of the days at this point. But yeah,
I think
it
some
was super fun.
days are slightly less busy, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's a lot of fun, but just do be aware that when it gets super busy, you can't move about that easily.
Yeah.
So if you don't like big crowds of people in confined spaces, that might be one to leave out. So yeah, I think it's a cool event. Like you said, it's getting more popular, and yeah, so that's Kanzake Station.
I certainly had a fun time.
As did I. Yeah.
So late January as well, there seems to be another event called Fuyu Matsuri taking place in Yoyogi, very convenient if you visit Meiji Shrine. And it seems to be pretty well balanced between food and sake. It's a combination of it's a series of stores offering delicacies and street food and sake at the same time.
And you know, that area actually where that event takes place, there's always something happening in that area, particularly on weekends. It's kind of Tokyo's equivalent of, yeah, like a big sort of like gathering space where I mean, it's a huge open space. And so they have numerous events throughout the year in Tokyo, such as the Thai Food Festival, the Mexican Festival, the Cinco de Mayo Festival, and many others, and many sake festivals, it has to be said. That isn't the only one that is held in that space, but I think that's one of the main ones.
Indeed, yeah. Definitely heading over to Yoyogi Park on the weekends. There's always some sort of food thing, and more often than not, there is some sort of sake at that food thing happening.
Where the cool kids hang out, right, Frank?
Yeah, yeah.
So moving on to February, leaving cold January behind. It was particularly cold this year. And the next event is one that I actually personally I'm not familiar with at all. I'm just wondering if any of you are. It's called Nambu Shoko.
I think Dambushoko is refers to the uh, website as well, but the full name of the event is Jojima Sakagura Biraki. And Jojima refers to, I think, a place which is in Kurume. Um, Kurume is in Kyushu, not far from Fukuoka, and played a very important role in Edo times in particular, because that's the place where rice coming from the various Kyushu Hans, Kyushu clans, was accumulating before being shipped to Osaka and then other parts of Japan. So it's not a surprise that you have a number of sake breweries around. And that event features, well, if I look at the website, 368 local breweries.
This one is one of those like Kurabiraki events, right? That are fairly common in January, maybe even a little bit of February, like where either a sake brewers association or a single sake brewery is going to be like, hey, we've finished our first batch of stuff we're going to sell. Come and have a little party and try some with us.
It's effectively a sake brewery open day originally. And
Okay.
now they've expanded to include multiple breweries. So, because sometimes one brewery doesn't really have the space inside their facilities to hold this kind of open day. So, what they do is they combine forces with local brewers. And then particularly if they're located on a street or an open area, they can kind of convert that into the equivalent of the space that they would usually use. We're actually going to feature maybe one or two other of these style events later in this episode.
Yeah. Definitely something though, if you're planning a trip to Japan, like searching Kurabiraki and seeing if any line up with the dates you're going to be here. That would be a fun thing
Or
to add
just
to a trip.
checking out your favorite brewery's website. They're always listed on there. Just look at the news section. Or you could even email them and say, do you have a Kuribaraki and when is it held? And again, they can be quite popular, so you do need to get your tickets in advance.
Or check their Instagram, right? A lot of them have actually
Absolutely.
started to advertise these events, but you're saying they're quite well. The popular ones are often sold out months in advance. So if you want to go to some of them next year, you probably want to start looking probably by autumn.
Yeah, just check out like their last year Instagram and see what was going on. And actually, some of these Kurabiraki, you don't even have to worry about transport. They'll actually take you all the way from Tokyo all the way to the brewery. So they can be quite a handy little event to do while you're in Japan.
Yeah, amongst the 8 breweries that are represented at the Jojima event, you have two names that are talked about on the sake scene at the moment. One is Wakanami, and the other one is Morinokura, which are two brands whose fame has clearly expanded beyond Kyushu and the region, and are sought after in Tokyo and
Around the
overseas,
world.
possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, they're exported to a lot of countries. Okay, so moving on in February, and we come back to Tokyo for an event which is actually literally happens like across the road and in an Ueno Park, which is literally on my doorstep. And I have to very embarrassingly say, I never managed to get to this event, but I do believe that what makes this event a little bit different from some of the others is that it's actually run by the sake shops as opposed to sake breweries. So it's I think very seldom maybe some of the breweries do actually take part, but it's quite a lot of the time it's just representatives of the sake shops.
And sake shops have played such an important role supporting sake breweries with their clients. And it's the way they present sake to clients and the way they structure the tasting. But even beyond that, sake shops often mature sake themselves and make experiences with the sake that is sold to them by breweries. So sometimes a unique opportunity to taste bottles that you wouldn't find at the brewery or that you wouldn't be able to source from any other place. And Kakufest is Kakuuchi Festival, and Kakuuchi refers to the sake shops where you can taste the products.
Yeah. Kakuuchi is literally means tasting from the corner, and it actually refers to the corner of the wooden boxes that you use.
The sakemasu.
Yes. So that's that one in Ueno. Then we move into March, and at the beginning of March, there is actually probably now, I think, one of the biggest sake events in Tokyo. And it's actually run by a sake brewery, and a sake brewery that I think many of our listeners will be familiar with because they are exporting quite extensively. It is, of course, the wonderful Kid Heiwa Shuzo from Wakayama.
No, and it's mad because it's only been maybe 3 years
Yeah, they
since they
started
started.
in 2023.
Yeah, because I think we went there together the first time
We
it
did.
happened.
But they've moved the event. So, for example, this year, it's actually going to be held in Tokyo Midtown in something called Canopy Square. I've never actually been to this area, but it's located between Nogizaka Tube Station, Nogizaka Metro Station, and Roppongi Metro Station.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Last year, it was held in Hibiya in a similar kind of closed off street between restaurants and shops. And it was quite a difficult space to get around, I thought. Because what I really like about Sake Park was how open it was and easy to kind of, walk around. And I think maybe they'll be able to go back to a similar kind of open space this year. Well, what's interesting about this event is that they actually run it via crowdfunding. So originally, it's actually put on a crowdfunding platform called Makuake, which is a mainly Japanese crowdfunding platform. And then fans of sake, they basically all go and they purchase tickets in advance. And that's what basically helps to get the event up and running. You can, of course, buy tickets on the day. And that's what a lot of people will do. I believe this year there'll be 30 breweries taking part. Not all of them are sake breweries. There will be some craft sake breweries and maybe shochu as well. And one of the other cool things about this event is that they invite breweries from overseas, or maybe the brewery themselves are not able to actually come to Tokyo and take part, but they provide their sake to showcase at the event. So, for example, last year, Origami, the great our friend and sake podcast and the Sake on Air member, Justin Potts, who is busy making sake in Arkansas, the brewery where he's working, Origami Sake, was actually showcased. And Brooklyn Kura as well, which is another famous one in the States. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity to try some sake which isn't made in Japan. And they have a DJ, they have street food. It's just one big party.
Changing region, Niigata.
Yes. Let me guess which one you're going to talk about in Niigata.
There's only really one everybody talks about.
Could it by any chance be...
Especially as we're recording this in the early March and the internet just has been exploding with people going there and drinking. And tell us, Sebastian, where are we going?
So we're going to Sake no Jin.
It's happening right now, right?
Yes.
It was last weekend.
Well, it just finished, basically.
Okay.
Yesterday was the last day, Sunday. It's Saturday and Sunday. The first thing to say is it's mainly, well, no, not mainly, it's only sake breweries in Niigata. So it's all about showcasing the sake breweries of Niigata. The good news, though, is that Niigata happens to be the prefecture with the most sake breweries in Japan. And when I say most, I mean 90, I think is the official figure right now. So you've got 90 sake breweries to explore in about 2 hour. I think each session is about 2 hours, and you book a particular session. I think there are about 3 sessions or 2 sessions each day, and it's on Saturday and Sunday. Word of warning, the hotels basically book up completely well before the event is due to take place. And also, the event itself is basically selling out every year.
Yes, that's what happened to me last year, actually. I
Yeah.
tried to go and I waited too long before booking my tickets.
I've only been once, and it was way back in 2014. So probably not the best person to talk about this thing because I'm sure it's changed a lot. But what I remember is it's just, I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it is pretty chaotic. There's a lot of people in this one space and a lot of breweries to get around. I mean, I would challenge anyone to try and get around all 90 breweries.
In how many
assuming that-
hours? 2 hour slots. 2 hour
yeah.
slots. Okay.
And bearing in mind that each brewery has maybe 4 or 5 different sake that they're showcasing. So,
To be honest, and this might be a little bit unpopular, and I still intend to go because I haven't been, but I think the pure size of the event is actually not that attractive to me anymore because I do feel like unless you have a super plan on how to navigate the event, like you're going to be totally lost. Like I'd love to actually hear from a couple of people who went this year and see how many sake they drank or how many sake they remember from what they have been drinking during the event.
yeah, absolutely. You've just got to take a lot of photographs and
Mm.
maybe video as well, which you can do
Crazy.
in the event. But I think what's great about this event is that anyone who's anyone in the sake world will probably be there as long as they could get a ticket. So it's a great networking event. You'll be able to meet more of the community. And a lot of people do come from overseas to attend this event. So you'll be able to
Yeah,
meet
that's
people
very
who
true.
are in far countries that you never would. So that's Sake no Jin. And moving back from Niigata, not back from Niigata, going all the way from Niigata down to the south of Japan, one of my favorite sake brewing places. And we go to Saga for the Shikashima Shuzo Tourism event. Has anyone been to this one?
I have not, but I mean, going through it again, I decided that I want to go next time.
Me too.
Because I mean, a little bit like the sewer one we're going to talk about later. It's about visiting breweries. It's about visiting breweries' premises. I'm not exactly sure if you can really enter such premises because I guess because of the crowds, they do not necessarily open their doors. But you had a great chance to go and taste the sake on site. What's a little bit complex about it is you've got different areas around 2 train stations, and of course the producers of the events are trying to help with shuttles and information about how to get from one point to the other. But there are 3, 6, 8 breweries again, with some famous brands like Nabeshima, for example,
Mhm.
which you can visit. So
One of my favorite breweries in that area is Yano Shuzo, who makes Kuragokoro, and they have a very cute little dog as well. I think it's run by the son now. When I visited it, the son was still in training, but I think he's now the Toji. Great Kimoto.
and of course, because like for most of these events, it's not about sake only, but it's a matsuri, it's a festival. So you have uh, dancing, parades, and a lot of fun stuff happening around the breweries.
And a lot of good food. But what I will say finally about Saga is they've done a lot of work for tourism. They're one of the big tourism centers now in the sake world. So it's definitely quite a prolific event. And yeah, like you, Sebastian, I really want to try and go to this event
Mm.
sometimes.
Yeah, and then I think we're making our way back up. We're still in March, but we're moving up to Kyoto.
Ah,
And to an event that I really love. I've been going to this for years, even before I moved here, because I always thought it was great because it was so accessible. Because we were looking at an event in Fushimi with all the Fushimi sake breweries. They're actually doing 2 events. They do one in April and to do another one in November. But the April one is the one that's really the one to watch out for because it is the combination of like the sake festivals that we talked about, but then also the open sake breweries. And with 12 of them will be open and they're literally within walking distance of each other, each of them kind of providing their own little festival with their sake. They often have like limited things. Last year I went to Saito Shuzo, makers of Aikun, and they had a Sugidama maker in the front. So you could actually see how these cedar balls were made fresh, and then you could also purchase them. I was so tempted to purchase one.
Come on,
Um,
Cindy, what were you doing?
I know I'm going back this year, so when you see it, you'll see it.
I might have to put an order in.
No, really, really interesting. And I love it because it's also quite a young festival. I think sometimes we talk about sake being a bit of the old man's drink, but when you go to these festivals, there's often lots of young people, families. Like it's really a community gathering. It's more than just the sake brands showing up, but it's really them opening their breweries for the communities. So I always loved being able to meet people, talk to the people behind the stalls, and then you're inevitably making new friends as you keep walking around the breweries together.
And it's near the famous shrine, right? Which, even if people don't know this area so
To
well,
be honest, like in Fushimi, it's not near Matsuno Taisha. It's really downtown Fushimi. So it's very close to Gekkeikan Museum
yeah.
because it's within the breweries. So I think the close breweries, you might walk 10 minutes from one brewery to another, which is quite nice. And then they have a big festival site, which they actually did move to Gekkeikan's second factory because it has a roof. And we're in March and it's still, you never really know what the weather decides to do. So there's the two aspects again. There is the breweries who provide some limited sake and food and everything and looks into their establishment. And then you have that tasting that then happens at the festival site, which is as so often in Japan. And I don't know how this is actually overseas, but for us, it's so common to have these festival time slots, right? You buy a ticket and Fushimi is hilarious because they say your ticket is from 9:40 for 2 hours, and it's literally by the 20 minutes. And it was like, how do you even enforce this? Yeah, I think maybe a little bit unusual for people who never been to a sake festival in Japan to be kicked out after 2 hours of having fun.
But it's a really good one to highlight because I think it would be fair to say that most people visiting Japan will go to Kyoto. And it's possible that even if they're on a tour, they have a packed itinerary, they may just have just enough time just to join this festival. And it's really not that far from the center of Kyoto, is it? It's just a local train, quite easy to get to.
And to be honest, because of the season, right, we're just right before cherry blossom. So you can actually go get in before it gets too expensive. But you still get glimpses of the beauty of nature as you're walking around without the big price tag. So it's actually a really good timing for anyone who comes, come like early March, take away a couple of these festivals, and then enjoy.
And you can check out the famous shrine as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so another event that we have, which does actually we're going to talk about the one which happens in like end of March going into April. But actually, this is an event which is held multiple times in the year. It is called Washu Fest. Washu is basically the Japanese for Japanese liquor, and Fest is a sort of an abbreviation of festival. And that's essentially what it is. It's a huge outdoor, normally outdoor festival showcasing Japan's drinks, not just sake, shochu as well, liqueurs. They may even, I think they even have some whiskey sometimes as well. And quite a lot of producers take part. I don't know the exact number, but I think in recent events it's been close to like 40 or 50. They try to rotate the participants around. So there's always there's always a new producer to check out when you attend this event.
Very informal, a lot of fun. You make friends. It's the right season. Like I
Mm.
mean, sakura is out. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can feel the energy of spring. It's great. It's fun.
Mm. And it's not just in Tokyo, there's also one in Osaka.
Oh, that's a good point. There is. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We're not excluding
Have you
cities
been to
here.
the one in Osaka?
I've been to the one in Osaka because Julian was serving sake once and we all went to see him and hassle him a little bit.
That's Julian Houseman, who we featured on a previous episode, and his who runs a bar in
Yeah. And it was really great because I think the Washu Fest that is in Nakameguro in Tokyo can often get a little bit crowded because it is colliding in spring with cherry blossom season. So I always feel like I'm a bit claustrophobic walking around, although it is beautiful. I mean, I'm not going to say don't go. I say please do, but it is probably one of the busiest sake festivals that you'll see because of the season.
and it's
Um,
right outside the station, so
yeah,
it's
and
already an
at the
area where you can
canal,
see.
right, where you see all the cherry trees. Where the Osaka one is normally at Osaka Bay Tower. So it's like a courtyard inside a complex, which is shaded but still open because we're in Osaka and we're not necessarily center. It's also a little bit less frequented, so there's a lot more time to kind of have the same style of festival, but just a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more time to talk to the people behind the counters.
That's Washu Fest. Definitely recommend that one. And then no sooner have we done with Washu Fest, but around about middle of April, arguably I think one of the most famous sake events outside Japan will take place. It's run by a company called the Craft Sake Company, and it's run by an ex-footballer, Japanese footballer, by the name of Nakata Hidetoshi. You may have heard that name. And where he's become a massive fan of sake. He set up this company. Our very own Rebecca Wilson Lai. She has worked for this company.
I see a big contrast between Craft Sake Week and many of the other sake events, where you have very simple booths like tents, cheap tents that are up, how do you say, folded or just open for a day or two. I mean, the attention to detail in the design, the atmosphere, the booths, the reception area, the food trucks, make it something really special in the on the sake event scene. I mean, there's a slight flip side to the coin. It's not exactly a cheap event to participate to, I have to say. But yeah, it's great to go there for one day or two, and everything is done so that you come back.
No, I was gonna say it's probably the Rolls Royce of sake festivals in Japan
Yeah,
because it's so
but
high end, right? It's really towards people who
yeah,
are um, attracting a new audience to the sake scene. And then I think what we haven't mentioned, this is not a one-day festivals. We're looking at a 12-day festival where every day a different lineup of breweries comes in with a theme, different restaurants. So it's kind of on a different level and totally towards a different audience, if you ask me.
I completely agree with that. But I think although it's true that it isn't cheap, and I do definitely agree with that, the Rolls Royce
I
being.
mean, you have to plan a little bit, right?
Yeah, but I think it is important to say that you are still to some extent getting some value for money because it's a prime location. You're in the middle of Roppongi, which is already a very very cool location, and you get the everything from the glassware which you get for the event to the quality of the food that you get at the event, and also to some extent the brewers as well. You get the sake that the brewers bring along as well. I think everything is at a very premium level. Whether it's expensive or not is maybe not for us to judge, but it definitely is one of maybe the higher end events for sure.
Yeah, because I remember when Rebecca came on the show and actually talked a bit about the behind the scenes
Yeah.
of Craft Sake Week. I think what struck me and what I didn't realize before is that it's one of the few events where the breweries actually get paid according to what they bring to the festivals. Where often a festival would just have like, oh, there's one token for everything. So it wouldn't incentivize brewers to bring like special items. But Craft Sake actually pays the brewer by the glass that they're selling. So of course, if they bring us like a $300 bottle, then as a result, the glass of sake from that $300 bottle will also be slightly more expensive. So I think because they're encouraged through that system, many of them do bring very special brews and then they do come at a higher price. But I do think there is a place for it and most people love it. I mean, I've seen a couple of sake. I was like, this is going a bit crazy, but it's still a lot of fun.
And it
And
pulls in celebrities and it pulls in a wide audience. I mean, as far as the events, sake events in Tokyo are concerned, I think it pulls in one of the widest audiences. I was also I had a little chat with Nakata-san, and I asked him kind of what kind of sake do you want to focus on with this year's event, and he said very clearly that we want to try and more than ever we want to try and include sake which is appealing more to as wider audience as we possibly can. So we want to have some styles which maybe we normally wouldn't feature.
Well, from Tokyo back to Kyoto, there's another event that a lot of people love, and I went there last year. I'm not sure if you guys have been. It's the Sake Grand Prix. It's close to Matsuno Taisha, which is obviously a very important sake shrine. It's not actually in the shrine because I thought it would be and it wasn't, and I was a little bit disappointed by it. But it's a fun event where lots of breweries come out, and their system is actually that all the people who attend can then vote for their favorite sake, and then that sake wins this year's Grand Prix. So every year they have a top five, and interestingly enough, when I've been looking at it last year, Matsui Shuso from Kyoto is a big favorite, crowd pleaser. They do tend to show up in the top five quite a bit. But yeah, it's a fun event. It's not a token system, so you basically just get the glass. You get your entrance ticket, and you get the glass, and then you can just try from as many stalls as you want to try. And they normally have a stage with some music and a little bit of program, but it's a lot smaller scale. But it's a very locally loved festival.
I mean, how far is it from Matsui Taisha? Because Matsuo Taisha, because we always advise our listeners to drink water between sake glasses, and it would be a great opportunity to drink sacred water between sake glasses. It would make the whole experience special.
It would. I think that would be a great point for the advertisers actually to to include that. But no, I think you probably would have to do like a 20-25 minutes walk so that in between holy water would come at the price.
Okay,
You never know. Maybe there is a point to be made to go visit it before or after. Although before would definitely probably be my suggestion.
fill your bottle with holy water or sacred water, and just go to the festival then.
Yeah. But I also have to say, this is one of the festivals where people do get pretty drunk. I think there's more civilized festivals. I mean, we talked about Craft Sake Week, so they might be because of the price point, where people tend to say like that's my budget, and then I kind of stop and I might go to an izakaya or some other establishment and continue. Whereas this is a festival where people really enjoy drinking.
This is the mosh pit of sake
It's a
festival.
bit of the mosh pit, yes.
And uh, after that one, I think we're still in your neck of the woods, right? In Osaka for what's this called? How do you read this? It's a sake festival with music.
Oh, yes. It's the Aishu Deto. It's another little bit of a wild card. It's again very local, but the how do I say this? The idea behind this is actually more of a music festival meet sake. So for people who live in Japan, they probably are familiar with ZEP. the music venue where a lot of concerts are held. There's one in Tokyo, there's one in Osaka. There might be actually more in other regions, but these venues are generally famous for having a big stage and then big gigs on. So Aishudeto is where a lot of the younger brewers come and join with their booths, and they also have part of a stage performance where the brewers participate, and in between they have live music acts playing, and you have like food stalls, and it's a little bit wilder, but it's a lot of fun because people just come there to actually have fun and enjoy.
Some of the brewers are quite musical, aren't they? There's actually quite a lot of brewery presidents or toji who can actually play an instrument or can actually sing or something else. So a lot of them are quite musically talented. Something about music and sake.
Yeah. No, it's a
Yeah.
really fun one. I mean, if you're into gigs and you like music, that's a really great opportunity to kind of kill two birds with one stone. You get some great sake from the people who make it. They do a lot of hot sake as well as part of it. They have like some unusual food pairings. Again, more towards a festival crowd, and then you get to see maybe one or two Japanese.
Osaka last year.
Hmm.
And it was actually given a different name, and this was to coincide with the expo which was taking place in Osaka. But it is coming back home to Tokyo, and I guess actually we don't have to talk so much about this because we do actually have an entire episode dedicated to this event that we've put out in the past. So we could link to that in the show notes.
Well, we can say there are two parts or two sides. There is one room where you have a lineup of all the sake that try to get a medal for the Shinshu Kampyokai. And this is quite unique, an opportunity to taste 400 different daiginjos or Junmai daiginjos is something that is a challenge.
And it is a professional tasting, right? So you shouldn't go into this expecting that you can just mill around. And for that, you need to go to the more casual sake fair. That's more kind of like, an ordinary sake event where you've got booths and you can just go around at your heart's content and taste it. This is a professional tasting, and it's quite orderly and quite regimental. And
it's done in silence. I mean,
yes, it's done in silence.
as far as I remember. So, but as to train your palate or to try to identify some of the subtle differences between various daiginjos from a similar region or from different regions, it's unique. I mean, you can't expect to cover everything. So again, I would agree with Cindy. I would say, like Cindy would, that it requires a bit of planning, but
it doesn't help.
I
always run out of time, Sebastian. Even though I plan, I try every year. I plan, and I somehow end up only doing like 40% of all the breweries, and I don't even bother with this, tasting that you're talking about, professional tasting. I don't have time for that. I can't even get around all the breweries in the main sake fair.
But to be honest, I think, I think when you go in with the mindset that there is going to be so much sake that you can't try everything, like I remember going the first time and I really didn't really understand like Yamagata style. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go to this region and I'm really into Hokkaido sake at the moment. And I want to also understand, for example, Shiga. And I'd literally just be like, okay, these are the three regions I want to test. And then everything else is a bonus.
And you still managed to get around more sake breweries than me. So,
well, well, that was only the first part, right? Because then again, you're kicked out after 2 hours. And then you go to the other part where the brewers are waiting for you with open arms and give you more sake, basically.
Last year and the year before, I basically did nearly all the sessions and still couldn't.
You were doing great.
Every single
I must say,
I do get interrupted
impressed.
a lot by people that I know. I'm not, complaining. It's always lovely to meet people that I can't.
Yeah. Chris is great because Chris stands out because he is the tallest person in Japan.
Yeah, that's the problem. I stand out too much. I'm I'm too tall for my own good. So I get spotted a mile away by people, Japanese people, foreigners as well, people working in the industry. But it can be a little frustrating when all you're trying to do is focus on tasting a particular prefecture's sake and moving on to the next prefecture.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fantastic event. It really is. If you're in Japan in June, you gotta. But once again, it is a popular event. Make sure you buy your tickets early, as soon as possible.
I would qualify it as the official
That's true.
official sake event. Means an opportunity to meet officials or official people in the sake world as well. So that's fun. And so one venue was about testing the samples submitted for the annual competition, and the other part, as you hinted, is much more casual. And what I love about that part as well is the desks are run by prefectures, if I'm correct, which
Yeah, I think
means
so.
that it's not like one sake brewer offering his sake to the visitor, but the the people working together on the desk of a prefecture may very well offer you the sake of their colleague or competitor, and that is fun as well, I think.
So from June to we enter the warmer months. There's not really anything happening sake related in July, right? But there is some shochu related events.
Yeah, the basically so the sake has the annual um contest that's run by the is it run by the government, right? The Shing the
By the National Research Institute of Brewing.
Mhm. It's part of like the national tax agencies kind of controlling the sake industry. But the shochu also has a very similar thing that happens every year, and the equivalent of the Nihonshu Fair that happens in Tokyo happens in Fukuoka in July. So if you want to get your shochu on, then heading to Fukuoka this year in July would be the way to do it.
So I think really it's not until August that we have another kind of major sake event. And this is a particularly big one. It is an event dedicated to our favorite sake rice, Omachi, the Omachi Summit.
Actually, before becoming a public event, it was, or it is, a competition.
Yes.
A competition between kuras submitting various omachi-based sake.
Because it's divided into three sections, isn't it? So you've
Yeah.
got the part which is for trade only, where you actually get to either judge or kind of do a special tasting of the sake which has been selected. And then there is the public event in the evening that anyone can kind of
Yeah.
go to.
Right.
I think when I was somewhere with John last year, he said he was part of the judging panel that was already happening in late spring.
Yeah.
And then when the Omachi Summit actually happens, that's when they reveal the results as part of the event.
Yes. But it's a great event, as well
125
as,
kora.
sorry?
125 kora.
It's a lot. I mean, I remember I've only been once, and I remember I took this panoramic video of the tables with all the sake on, and it was 3 rows of tables. I think there was 4 tables per row. I mean, a lot of sake to get through. But you can basically go round and taste each sake that's been entered into the competition, and then towards the end of the event, they announce the winners in a grand ceremony, and there's lots of great food there.
Yeah, because I think it's also interesting because previously we had an event that is organized by sake shops, right? I think this is really interesting because it's organized by brewers, but also farmers. So their goal really is to promote omachi rice and the sake made from it. So again, it's a little bit of a different angle to some of the other festivals that we've seen. I really love it because it's almost never that you get the opportunity to have something that is so niche and kind of so nerdy to some extent, but that also so many people are really drawn to.
And what really I think was astonishing was just how many prefectures take part. I don't know if this has always been the case, but I mean, I think there was pretty much an omachi sake from every prefecture, or almost every prefecture in Japan at the one I attended. I was really like taken aback by just how, yeah. So if you love omachi rice, that's definitely one to go to. And again, it's super popular, so make sure that you book your tickets in advance. And then we move into September, just as the typhoons have stopped, have started to arrive. And in my memory, I think most of the times I've attended this event, it's been in the rain. But I am, of course, talking about Sake Jump, which is actually a kind of a revival or a kind of a rebirth of an event which brewers used to hold. I remember attending this event when I first sort of came to Japan. I'm not 100% sure when the event itself was started, but there used to be an event run by brewers called Wakate no Yoake, which literally means the dawn of the young brewers. And this is essentially the Wakate no Yoaki event was ended, and then a company has basically adopted this event and turned it into this event called Sake Jump.
And it's really lovely. I mean, I was laughing a little bit earlier when you said it's always raining because bizarrely enough, they have these really cute cloud tables or stations where they serve the sake under. So I feel like there might be actually provoking the rain
Well,
with festival design.
do you remember the way that I mean, you get a little bit of cover if you're right under
Yeah,
these like clouds as you describe them. But ironically, if it really is raining super heavy, which it was, right, a few of the
yeah,
times that we attended, it drips off the clouds. So
yeah,
you're stood there tasting sake, and you've got water
yeah.
dripping down you. But it's a fantastic event. I think maybe this year there's going to be about 30 or 40 breweries taking part. They're different breweries depending on the day. The event takes place, I think, over about 5 days.
And that is what you should expect to go and visit and meet with young brewers and the sake that they produce. That's, I mean, how I discovered a few brands, a few sake that I didn't know about. That's a place where they showcase sake from overseas as well. So another good reason to go there.
Yeah, you can really, I agree with that, Sebastian. You can really discover some breweries or producers that you've never heard of before because the organizer definitely going out of their way to try and get those producers involved.
I mentioned discover, but I should use rediscover as well. I'm thinking of Gekkeikan. I mean, you can taste Gekkeikan sake pretty easily at many different places, but for Jacket Jump, they had sent the Gekkeikan Innovation Lab, which are well, basically young employees, which is made of young employees or maybe more senior employees, I'm not exactly
A
sure,
mixture.
of
A mixture.
Gekkeikan, which are trying new things.
Yeah, such as
And that's fun.
red rice sake, for example, or
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. They show up every now and then, and they always wear lab coats because
that's
it's their
right.
lab series.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
every year they make a funky tank, and if it is successful, they sell it actually in Fushimi. You can buy it because they're obviously based in Fushimi. So you can buy some of their limited edition. I don't know if it's called session or lab series
I
sake,
think it's the
and
lab series.
they're very different to what you expect from a brand like Gekkeikan. But I think that makes it actually even better. I like that they venture out into the world of innovation, saying that they are very innovative, and that's also why they've been so successful for so many years. Yeah, so
One of my highlights is Bentem Musume, a brand that always brings their warming machines and serves their sake warm because because they make sake for warming. And if you've never had warm sake before or never had this style of warm sake before, it's worth going to the event just for that. But again, it is a super popular event. And one thing to say is that if I remember correctly, they don't accept cash payment for the tickets. You can buy tickets on the day, but they don't accept cash payments. So make sure you go there with a contactless, is that the right word? A cashless payment format, such as the apps that you can get in Japan, or credit card will be fine as well. But just be prepared, because I once went there.
And you can buy sake, which is not always the case.
You can,
at the
because
sake
there
events.
is Imadia
Imadeya is present on the side.
has a little shop set up inside the area where you buy your tickets.
Okay, let's move on to October, which is a very important month for sake brewing, because that's where production usually starts, or when production usually starts. So, Chris, you want to take us to Suwa?
Yeah. So you said you've been to this as well in the past.
Honestly, it's one of my best memories when it comes to sake events.
So, I mean, I actually learned about this event from Keith from Masumi, and every year he would invite me to come down and take part in this event. And then I finally, in 2024, it takes place in the first week of October, in Suwa in Nagano, where Masumi is located. And the event is called Nomi Aruki. And actually, it's not Nomi Aruki, it's Suwa Nomi Aruki, sorry. So, first of all, the event it takes place on one street that is basically one of the old highways in Japan called the Koshu Kaido. Nowadays, it's actually called Route 20, National Route 20, but it is known as the Koshu Kaido. And it's one of those streets in Japan that is like lined with quite a few sake breweries, five in total. And the idea is you buy a ticket, they give you a wooden, well, when I went, they give you a wooden box and a plastic cup. And then you have to walk a little way to the street. You start off in the station, in Kamisuwa station. And you have to go to one of the buildings in the station to get the tickets. And then you have a map, and then you walk to the street, which is just down the road. And then from the starting point, you basically work your way down the street. And then every so often, there is a sake brewery there with booths outside the brewery, or you actually go inside the brewery, and there will be some people serving sake. The event is fantastic. It features 5 breweries, like I said. I have the names of the breweries. It is Maihime, Beijing, Yokobue, Masumi, of course, and Sake Nunoya Onkin.
It's like the Nishinomiya event. It's an event when you can do a comparative tasting when it comes to water, because the reasons why these 5 breweries are located so close to each other is because they're sharing the same water. Well, that's a spin or an angle on your tasting.
Yeah, and I have to say, final comment about this event would be that it's a great community spirit. I actually ended up drinking sake and chatting with the mayor of Suwa. Lovely lady.
And you eat stuff that you would not eat at other sake events sometime, because you have great food trucks, but people bring stuff as well, and you come across as a foreigner, and so people will go to you and speak to you, and that's the sense of, that's the community of local people supporting sake brewers and sharing that desire to get you back into their region.
My lasting memory of the event is, as we were walking back, there's this 7-Eleven towards the end of the road, and it has quite a big car park, and it was just full of people sat there with their bento and sake drinking, and surrounded by these dancers, because there's a lot of dance and performance there, the kind of the local cultural arts. So that's definitely one to check out. But once again, you do definitely have to buy your tickets in advance. And moving on from that one, back down, going south to Hiroshima, we have the Saijo Sake Matsuri. I've never been to this one personally myself. Has anyone been to this one?
No, I have not either. It's like Sake no Jin, I think one of the festivals attracting the biggest crowds in Japan. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people visiting every year. It's a huge event. You can taste sake from all over the country, but there is, of course, a strong focus on Saijo, which is the main brewing center in Hiroshima. And this is an opportunity not only to taste sake and participate to some of the festivals. I mean, there are shrines that are carrying around, I mean, portable shrines that are carried around. There are all sorts of activities taking place, but you can visit some of the Saijo breweries as well.
A massive difference between Sake no Jin and the Saijo Festival is that it takes place outside. It's
Yes,
in the
you're in the
park.
street. You're in the city. You're in the
Yes.
Saijo city environment. Yeah.
And then from the last event that we're going to cover in this particular episode, we go back to Cindy's neck of the woods for the Fushimi Sake Festival Otesuji Arcade. Tell us about that, Cindy.
Yeah, as I earlier mentioned, again, like Fushimi, it is a prominent sake region, so they don't just do one festival, they do two. They do one in the spring and one in the autumn. And I think again, it's a great place to go to because you're probably gonna come to Kansai anyway for the autumn leaves. So you're already in the area, and a mere 20 minutes on a train from downtown Kyoto, you can make it to Fushimi and see some amazing sake from the area. What's different from this to their spring festival, this is actually in their main shopping arcade, Otetsuchi Shopping Arcade. And so it's a covered festival. You basically get in from one side, you can walk all the way down to the end of it, and you have sake breweries in the middle serving their brews and little food stalls on the sides. So again, it is with that kind of time zoned system that we know now here in Japan, but it's a lot more relaxed because you do kind of walk from one end to the next and just stop by your favorite sake booths and try some of their often limited sakes. I think what's special actually here is because we're right in the time where the autumn sakes are released. So a lot of the brewers actually bring their hiyaroshi sake or their akiagari. So you get the chance to drink some of the limited seasonal sakes kind of right from where it's made.
Ah, yeah, I forgot to mention that about the Suwa no Miyaruki because I did actually taste quite a lot of. I remember actually a lot of the sake I had were hiyaroshi. So, yes, that's the great thing about going to sake events at that time of year. It's just about when the fall sake is being released.
Yeah. No, so again, I think they're great, and I know Suwa is always a little bit further out. You have to often make a little bit of detour. So I like Kyoto a lot because it is so local, but at the same time, so you are in a brewery town. You are in this very small area where there's a lot of brewery located, and they're all friends. So you also see the banter between the breweries. The smaller breweries often share one stall, right? And you can see that person serving that sake, and it's just all really nice and familiar. But again, I think as we've already mentioned so many times previously, it's a festival that again often sells out because I think that's the downside to the central festivals. People go there, everybody wants to attend. But if you can plan a bit ahead, I think often you should be able to make it happen. So yeah, I think that is
Well, hang on, Cindy, because I'm just thinking our listeners will be shouting at us right now as they're
why.
listening to this show because we've forgotten one rather important uh, event. Well, we're not going to really talk much about it, but we probably should at least say something
Well,
about it.
Sebastian said lots of things are happening in October for a reason, and I thought we were
Yeah.
hinting at it without saying it.
So, yeah, I am, of course, talking about Sake Day. As we're recording this, Sebastian actually has a Zoom background with with this with a picture of this people drinking, celebrating this day. It says October 1st Sake Day.
For me, sake day is every day though, but
Yeah, that's what when we actually started this recording, before we started this recording, I said to Sebastian, your background is a bit old. It's not sake day anymore. And I knew his reply to that would be every day is sake day.
Sake day.
So yes, every day is sake day. But in October in particular, around the week that sake day takes place, there are a number of events being held at izakaya, restaurants, sake shops, and so it's a great time to be in Japan and checking out sake events in general.
So, but what you're referring to here is less maybe public events, like large public events, but more events that are held at individual restaurants, or basically connections created between different places and branded under sake day. Well, thanks. I think we've covered the year, and now it's sake time.
It is sake time, right? I was just thinking the same. No, I'm actually very excited about going to some of these events that I haven't been after hearing your recounts of them. And I'm certainly excited about, we're just at the beginning of March as we're recording this, so there's a couple of festivals coming up very soon. That I think we have covered most of our favorite events and a couple that we are also very much looking forward to still explore. If you are coming to Japan, make sure you note them down in your travel plans and hopefully get yourself a ticket or two so you're not disappointed when you arrive. As we said, these often do get sold out quite a bit in advance. Of course, we add the links to our show notes. So if you're curious about anything in more details, just click on our homepage and you will see the links to each event. Guys, thank you so much for making time on this Monday evening. And we will be back with more sake on air very soon. Until then, kampai!
Bye.
Sake on Air is made possible with the generous support of the Japan Sake and Shochu Makers Association and is broadcast from the Japan Sake and Shochu Information Center in downtown Tokyo. It is produced by Export Japan, and our team is Shuso Imada, Justin Potts, Arlene Lyons, Cindy Bissig, Chris Hughes, Chris Pellegrini, John Gottner, Marie Nagata, Miho Ota, Rebecca Wilson-Lai, Sebastian Wong, and me, Frank Walter. Until next time, kampai!